Okay, that's my favorite part. And he literally does all of this by hand. So he ordered and literally cuts it all, does it all by hand. It's so gorgeous. Hey,
Hi, Zoe. How are you?
good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay, perfect. We are in the middle of a move, so my audio setup is not as it usually is. So,
Ideal. All good. Where are you moving?
we just moved to Texas. We moved to Texas from Georgia. We've had quite the year. We've
Okay.
moved 8 times this year.
That's
But
wild. Wow.
we officially are home, and I am not moving for at least 5 years.
Okay.
But home base, we're like home base. This is it.
Very cool. So you're originally from Texas, though, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I am. So it's cool to be back. It's a much more exciting place than when I grew up. There's a lot more to do. So it's fun. But
Okay. Very, very cool. Well, I'm Adam, by the way, and then this is about you and your journey in music. So I guess going back to, sorry, go ahead.
and your family runs this podcast, right? You
Yes. Yeah.
and
My wife and I,
kids, right?
I'm sorry.
You have 2 kids?
2 kids, yes, 2 kids, and my wife and I. It's just us. We started it in 2019, and then the pandemic happened, and it just
Mhm.
kind of. I mean, it's unfortunate the pandemic was, but that meant people were home, and we just started doing these over Zoom, and it really hasn't stopped since. It's pretty wild.
This kind of interaction, I feel like, is what kept people sane
For
through
sure,
all.
for sure.
And as terrible as that time was, I feel like the doors that it this is kind of a weird thing to say because obviously it was not a good time, but it opened a lot of doors for people to explore avenues that I feel like maybe they wouldn't have otherwise. So and I certainly have a greater appreciation for being able to be around people again. So
For sure, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I was doing radio for 17 years, and then when this happened, it was like because we were doing it as a, fun thing that we were always trying to pursue, but it was like a weekly thing, and then the pandemic hit, and I'm getting so many email requests to do interviews, and I'm like, wow, this is really doing way
ah,
more than I would have ever imagined, and we're like just leaned into it. So
oh, totally get into it. I love that. That's like my favorite thing to say.
okay. Yeah. So that's been, we've been doing it now. And instead of doing one a week, we pub one out every day.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Congrats to you guys. That's
Oh,
awesome.
thank you. Yeah. Yeah. No, we love it. But I want to talk about you and your journey. So Dallas,
Yeah.
Texas is where you were born and raised?
Yep, I was born in Arizona, but I moved
Oh,
out here at 6 months old. So I'm basically a
okay.
Texan, I'd say.
Don't remember much, I would imagine, from
Yeah,
Arizona then.
not
Okay.
much. I have family there, and I really like Arizona. Honestly, the music scene over there is really cool too. Lot of art, which is neat, but it's hot. It's a little too hot for me to live there. Texas is hot too, but we have a little more seasons, I'd say.
Hmm.
So I grew up in like right in between Dallas Fort Worth, and then spent 6 years or so in LA and enjoyed that. But I'm married and I have a little one now,
Yeah.
and we're just
Congratulations. I saw that.
here. Thank
Well,
you
your
so.
your cover of your baby single is you pregnant.
Yep, yeah.
That's
And
cool.
such a cool journey. I mean, I always knew that I wanted to be a mom, but like it's my favorite chapter so far. And I think it's really cool. Like you and your wife, you're still making art, you're doing it, you juggle it all, and like that is so cool, especially like seeing how it's opened up my writing too to
Mhm.
have more, happy things to write about
Right.
than
New experiences for sure.
absolutely. So it's been really, really cool.
Very
Challenging,
cool.
of course,
I was gonna
but
say, yeah, it's definitely not easy.
no, not it's
Especially
not.
now with summer. I mean, your child is obviously very young, but I have kids in school, and it's like now they're in summer, and it's like, okay, my wife and I work from home, and it's like juggling them in the other room, and
Well, and you
it's
guys, the how old are your kids?
6 and 14.
6 and 14. So you guys had to do the distance stuff with COVID as well.
Oh yeah, that was a nightmare. Especially my younger son. He was in pre-kindergarten or preschool. I can't remember. He was like basically in like a preschool and they were still having him go on Zoom. I'm like, you realize that he's, 4. He's not going to sit on this computer for much longer than like 3 minutes unless you're like have a video up or a game going on.
Totally. I get you. My nephew's gonna do that too, but yeah, he's young. So summer wise, I mean, he likes the pool.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have a bit of time.
yeah, he's like in his kind of easy stage right now. He's just kind of chilling, but yeah.
Very cool. So Dallas Fort Worth is massive. So you grew up in that area, and when you started playing piano at a very early age, is that the first instrument?
So growing up, and the piano that I grew up playing is actually going to be at my house by the end of the month. So I'm really excited about this. Oh my God, I'm so excited. It's a 1920s baby grand. And it's
wow.
It's beautiful. It's this gorgeous black baby grand that's just like, I mean, the sound you get out of a piano is just insane. So I really missed that. And my dad got it for my sisters and I growing up, which was so cool. Like he played in a band growing up and was hoping that someone would get the music bug, I think. So he had a piano in our house and I learned to play it. I loved it.
But he bought a 1920s baby grand piano for you girls to play?
He's a music guy and I guess he like came across something for sale and was like, okay, like somebody's going to learn to play it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a really special thing to have because just, I think seeing that sparked so much interest for me. Like it was always in our living room. So I would climb the bench and kind of like probably play it in the most annoying way possible, but but it was inspiring, it gave me something to be interested in. I started with classical training and I hated it. Like I appreciate it now, but as a kid, I didn't connect with it.
Of course.
Oh yeah. I think some kids do all of it, but I'm so ADHD. Like I can't focus is hard for me. I'm sure as you'll notice this conversation, I could go on like it's my job. So for a lot of creative people, that can be a good thing because your brain can think in ways that, just you have all this imaginative capability. That's great. But that was a little bit too intense for me, especially at a young age. So I'm glad that I stuck with music because I just ended up kind of trying to learn by ear, some of my favorite artists and that sort of thing. So I stuck with it, but at first I was kind of intimidated.
Sure. So you learned piano then? Like, were you playing classical piano and then just got sick of it and moved on, or?
I basically, so we had like a record collection in my house too. So I listening to a lot of classic rock. Like we had, of course the Beatles, Zeppelin, the Who, all those. And I would hear things and be like, well, that's cool. I like music. So maybe I can try to learn some of those things. And then I wrote my first song on the piano when I was 7. Wow. And it was, because the cool thing about the classical music thing is it taught me how to write, like how to like understand sheet music. So I have it still. It's like this notebook paper that had a few pages that it was like, the sheet music notebooks where you can write the
yeah.
So I have those. And I think at the time it was like about God or something. I don't know. It's like, I was just writing whatever I was, probably paying attention to at the time at 7. And yeah, it was interesting. So I don't know what made me want to write music. I think I was just like, well, I can make my own song or something.
Right.
And then, I just started doing that. I mean, it was funny at 10, I was like writing songs about like being cheated on or something. My mom's like, what do you know about this? You're watching too much TV. Kids are funny. But yeah, so I just started writing because it made sense to me for some reason. And then did musical theater, which got me out of being very shy. I was a really shy kid. And so that kind of like forced me onto the stage and like some fears that I had. And I think, you know, having had that avenue where the teacher I had was trained in an opera environment, like she helped me with my pitch and my tone.
Mm-hmm.
And then around 13, I picked up guitar. So just kind of kept like finding new things to get into.
Mm-hmm. And did you start, like when you got the guitar, was that, I mean, obviously a whole new instrument to write music on, and then did that become like songs that you had eventually started a band with, or were those songs that you were more singer-songwriter that you could play out and about? Because I mean, lugging a piano around would probably be a
Oh,
difficult
wow.
task.
Yeah. Well, and I think at first I was intimidated by the guitar because it just didn't make sense to me. Like it was like I was used to seeing everything laid out here
Mm-hmm.
and then in front of you, and then having something that I had to, it just was such a foreign thing. Like it really is learning another language,
Mm-hmm.
and any instrument that you pick up. And I think the more that you pick up, the better your brain gets at adapting maybe. But there was that learning curve. And I see why like a lot of people quit when they start to learn an instrument, because there's that time period where you're like, I feel like this is never going to happen. And it's so hard. And then you like the light bulb happens. And then I was like, okay, I like this, especially trying to learn to sing and play. That was really hard at first.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got more comfortable with it, I think that I started my first like band at like 13, you know, just with some like kids around. There was like a little music school that we all kind of got together and had a band that we played in. And we played some like little, you know, the local like seasonal festival type things that are like in your town. We did stuff like that. And then I started pursuing like my own actual, like I wrote this music when I was 14. So
Okay.
yeah.
So at 14 is when that's when it kind of changed for you. I mean, like at 14, are you playing different shows in the area? I mean, you talked about playing, you know, the whatever festivals that were going on in the town, but like, when do you start really pursuing this, knowing like, was there a moment that you're like, okay, this is what I definitely know, this is what I'm going to do forever, or a validating moment for you with your songwriting?
That's a cool question. Yeah, I think that like, and looking back, I think it's really neat how this builds over your like over someone's young life, like deciding what maybe they want to do. Because when I was 5, I saw a girl singing at like some event, and I was like, Mom, I want to do that. I was like 3 or 5 or something. So I always knew that I wanted to do music or pursue something that was artistic, because my sisters danced their whole life. So I was like, oh, we have such an artsy family. This is fun. I was exposed to that, which is great. I'm lucky that my parents were like, you know, willing to let you chase that dream.
Mm-hmm.
Cause it's a lot. I mean, having to take your kids to lessons and things can become daunting, I'm sure. But I think that by the time that I was 14 and started kind of seeing that like, oh, this is a real thing, like people are starting to talk about what they want to do, where they might want to go to college maybe, or like that sort of thing, I was just like, oh, you know what, I think I really want to try to do this. And I think that especially for me being a kid, that I did not fit in very well, there were a lot of things that I was trying to figure out emotionally, and music was my safe haven in that
Mm-hmm.
way. So I think that, you know, finding that place that I felt safe in, that I could express myself, was really impactful for me. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, started playing my own music for other people, and sort of doing like little recordings and what have you.
Okay. And did
Yeah.
you, when you ended up finishing high school, do you go to college for music? Like or you talked about moving to LA for a while. Like, was that the next big move for you, or what happened via like after you graduate high school? Like, okay, now you graduate. I want to play. I want to, you know, be a songwriter. Now, what do I do?
So my like learning years were a bit random. I got my GED because I was quote unquote homeschooled. Like I didn't really, you know, pay attention or do a lot of school, to be
Right.
honest.
Yeah. My son is, or he was homeschooled as well. Now he goes to basically school a couple days a week. My older one. So.
Yeah, like it was always really hard for me to be in a like school environment,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel I don't know. It always kind of like made me really feel hard on myself. Cause I wasn't able to keep up. And when it came to like testing and evaluations, like I was like, okay, like I can do this. I guess I just don't want to. Like, I don't know. My brain just wouldn't. There's so many different styles of learning. And I think that we're becoming a lot more attuned to that nowadays. But when I was in school, so I'm 26 now. So when I was in school, it was, if you aren't in like AP math, like they could see I was creative. They didn't know what to do with that. So there just wasn't a lot of options for kids that wanted to do art things when I was really young. And then by the time I was a little bit older, I was just like, I think I'm going to wait on college because I didn't know what I wanted to go for. I didn't want to, end up in debt.
Right. Yeah. Smart idea.
Yeah. And I was just like, you know what? I got my GED. At least I have that if I want to go to college eventually. I'm just going to play shows and pursue music and writing. And when I was 19, I went to write with someone. And let's see, I was 20. I went to write with someone in California, and they had a room open, and it was like for $500, which in California, a room being available for that cheap was like, okay, I'm in.
Unheard of. Yeah, I'm from San Diego. I know all about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I was just about 20. I don't know. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. So I just moved. I stayed, and I loved it. I was a big fan of the beach life that it offered, and like all these people that I got. I mean, you throw a rock and you're like, you're some talented guitarist or whatever.
Right.
So many creative people there, and it was really cool. It was hard though. There was a lot of growing up for me to do, but it was a good experience. Let's see, how long was I there? I moved there it was in 2016, I guess.
Okay. Wow. I mean, coming from Dallas to then moving to Los Angeles, that must have been quite a culture shock too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I had, like I said, a lot of growing up to do in the sense that like there were a couple situations where I lived in Van Nuys, where I had to learn very quickly, like, okay, I don't leave my house past this time, because we were not in
sure.
There were like, we have some fun, like a lot of just stories where I'm like, okay, I'm glad I'm good.
Right. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
Elf was literally like the ceiling fell in at one point.
Oh my gosh.
And there were like, let's see, at one point there were like, I had my own room, but there were like 5 people in this like 2-bedroom apartment.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that sounds like about right.
That's the lifestyle over there. And it was really fun though, like figuring it out, making friends, figuring out how to, collaborate with people, and all that was really good for me. Learning how to like, okay, I guess I have to work 3 jobs right now. That kind of mentality of just like, you just have to do what you have to do was really good for me. So it was hard. There were a lot of times where I was like, I don't know how much longer I can do this, but it was, yeah. Which now that's why I'm like, okay, Texas is cool because I can go to California, I can go to work. But it's a little more comfortable here for family purposes, I think, if you're trying to like figure it all out.
Yeah. We moved to Nashville like a year and a little bit over a year ago, and we absolutely love it here. But I'm from San Diego, my whole family's from San Diego. So us moving here was such a change coming from the California environment to now here.
I love Nashville though. What a fun spot.
Yeah, we love it here. It's amazing.
And that's the same thing there, as far as like there's so many creatives, cool environment to be in. I like that. I think that at least at this point in my life, I like if I had to move to one of the other, I would definitely pick Nashville. Just because I like that it has that kind of combination of like, if you want to kind of get out of the Nashville area, you have like, I love Tennessee. Tennessee's great.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, we're not in the city, we're in the burbs, but which I love too, because it's like I can go to the city, but I mean with our family and everything, it's so much more calm, and the pace of life is a lot slower, and yeah, we dig it here. But
I love that.
Yeah, it's
The,
been amazing. But okay, so you are in LA, and was there like what was a big moment that happened there, or did what was the kind of that got your career going?
so I was in LA because I had been working with, so basically rewinding, I had
Hmm.
played Southwest in, man, 2015, no,
Oh
earlier,
wow, that's huge.
not 2015, maybe it was like 2013. I am the worst with timelines and
All
dates,
good. Don't worry about it.
but at some point back in the day I played
Hmm.
Southwest. So I played the actual festival, but then I had a bunch of shows that I had set up, just like side festivals, like a lot of times around that time, little like the bars on Sixth Street
Yeah, they'll
up.
have shows going on for sure.
Totally. So I had played, and we were like dragging our equipment up and down Sixth Street on like it was so just like it was intense, and we were just we're like, if we're gonna be here and we're gonna like you know pay what it costs to like just like survive here for the whole weekend, we're gonna pack like 3 shows into a day. So
Oh
we were
yeah.
off, yeah. So we get to this, at the time it was called the Amphitheater Bar. I'm sure it's still there, but um it was really cool. It was, kind of this cool outdoor bar thing. And someone had walked in to get a drink and just was watching the show. And he ended up being kind of a really cool connection that ended up bringing me out for this writing session that I had that made
Okay.
me. And now I'm on the label that I'm working with is had been consecutively through, so it's the string effect, right? You meet one person and it snowballs into all these other happenings
Hmm.
that further your career. So I think that was the biggest learning experience for me, is when, if you want, you can't hide in your house and wait for somebody to come knock on the door and be like, hey, talented musician,
Sure. We'd like
come
to
up.
offer you a record deal, and here's some money.
And now the world's so different anyways, it doesn't all boil down to getting a deal. We have
Mhm.
so much at our fingertips, especially with online. So I guess now that is a lot. You can sit in your house and
Right. Yeah. Now you can just have a big moment on TikTok, and somebody will come DMing you and being like, "Hey,
exactly.
we
And
want to
that's
offer you a record deal."
that you post that maybe you weren't really feeling that in the mood for it that day or whatever, but that one video could mean everything for you. So
Hmm.
that's what's so important, is like whether you're dragging your crap down the street to play a show that you're tired and don't feel like playing, or whether you're in your house being like, how do I make this much content? It's just, you just have to like grind, because every little thing leads to the next. And it's so important to just play as much music as you can. But
Hmm.
I think that, when I was in California, the I guess there were, I was there for so long that there were little things that I think felt like stepping stones for me, and setbacks, of course. But I think the most exciting point for me was right before COVID.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I think a lot of people felt that way, where it was like, oh man, things were really starting to pick up. But
Hmm.
it was cool because I went to a writing session, and I met a friend of mine that actually we ended up writing a bunch of music together, and playing a bunch of shows, and we got to we sold out the Viper Room. It was so cool.
Wow, it's huge.
That was huge. It was so neat, and we got to play the Troubadour, which was
Hmm.
like insane. Like you grow up seeing like all these things about these legendary venues, and the moment you get to play that as an artist is like mind blowing. I mean, it's probably like for someone that grows up getting to go see their, favorite sports team play at an arena, and you finally get to play it. Like, to me, that
Right.
was hard, because it was like, even though, I mean, is it like a giant place? No, but it was like, wow, the people that I admire the most have like stood on this stage. This is
Right.
so freaking cool.
Hmm.
That was probably one of my favorite moments of
That's
being.
so rad.
It was so cool, and we just had these few months of like back to back cool things, whether it was the Viper Room, the Troubadour, and we were kind of getting ready to like put this record out, which got postponed. So now that I've moved, and like this room that I'm in right now, I'm setting up as my studio here, and I just plan to go out to California quarterly,
Hmm.
and sort of just get done what I need to, and get stuff moving again. But yeah, you know, things were awesome. And then COVID hit. And like I said, it was just a regrouping for everyone. You know, it was, what am I doing? And for me personally, I ended up meeting my husband, which is funny.
Wow. During COVID?
We met on TikTok. Funny as can be.
That's awesome.
And like, people ask how we met, and I love telling that story because it's like, it sounds so dumb. But he was stationed in Germany at the time.
Okay.
And I didn't really have like an algorithm on my app yet. I was just like downloading it to start putting music on it because I'm like, wow, I'm really behind the game on this. I should do this.
Right.
And I saw a video he posted and I followed him and he DM'd me, and now we have an 8-month-old son.
That's so cool.
Yep. It's funny how that works, but
yeah,
he's super cool. So now we live in Texas, and I'm just like, I guess I'm going to travel where we need to and all that. So yeah, we're in a regrouping period because I was doing a lot, and then COVID hit, and then I had, you know, I was pregnant, had a baby.
Yeah. That probably took up a lot of your time. I would imagine.
I played a show with him while I was 9 months pregnant, though. That guitar was like propped up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was like a little coffee shop thing by the Army base that we were at in Georgia, but it was fun.
That's really cool. That is really cool. And you're endorsed by a company out of San Diego, aren't you?
Oceanside. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Oceanside. Well, yeah,
So,
it's just north of San Diego. Those guitars they make are not only like they're insane, but like tell me how that relationship for. I mean, they're called Zoe Guitar, right?
guitars, and so the luthier, Sean, the guy who makes them, so his granddaughter's name is Zoe. So it just happened to be that he started this company with her name, and his wife, Sally, who kind of helps him like get all this out online and everything. She was, you know, doing some research and found my name, and it's spelled the same, which is so cool. And so we just started talking on like Facebook and whatever. And she was like, I think it'd be really cool to just see what we could kind of do together. And so when I was in California a handful of months ago, I went down to their shop and played their different models and guitars. And I was just like blown away by how much I didn't know about the instruments that I played. Like there's so much, every little detail that goes into a guitar is just incredible. So I got to learn a lot from that experience. And then I actually just had a custom built, and it's right next to me. I can show it, but
yeah, I was on their Instagram and I was like, whoa, like these are crazy. And then I saw it, I was like, Oceanside. And then and then he was like, the guy was in a picture and he had a San Diego Padres hat on. I was like, oh, okay, so it is Oceanside, California.
And it's so, because I've gotten to go to a factory before, like you know, and every guitar building process is incredible, but I didn't realize the scale of like one person doing it takes so much. Like it's really such a detailed, like,
oh,
so much
insane.
Oh yeah, so much goes into it. And when we were picking out, you know, everything from the wood on each part of the guitar to the tuners to every little bit is like so much care goes into it. And if Sean watches this, he's gonna be like, are you kidding? Because a string broke. Isn't this stunning?
Oh yeah. Oh, I love the inlays. Those are cool.
Okay, that's my favorite part. And he literally does all of this by hand. So he ordered and literally cuts it all, does it all by hand. It's so gorgeous. So like, I don't know how well you can see that in this lighting, but
no, I can see it. I just didn't want to talk so everyone else could see it.
Like every little piece is so insane. So yeah, I mean, and all of the guitars that I played were so different too. So like trying to pick something, you know, the different wood that you have sounds a certain way. So like based on what you tend to play is totally relevant. And it just was a really cool experience. So obsessed. This is like my guitar that I played for a long time. Was my first guitar when I was 13, and it becomes like an extension of your body. So when I got this, I was like, this is my soulmate. Like it
Mm-hmm.
literally, it's, you pour so much love and like, songwriting and time into your instrument. So I'm really excited that got to
Yeah.
be today, but
That's
um,
so cool. That is so cool. Yeah, I was looking at on his website. I was like, "Whoa, like these are insane." Um, but yeah, and it looks like he just does custom stuff. I mean, based off of.
custom stuff. He also has like an inventory. So like on his site, he has a handful that are just like ready to go that he's made.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he has jumbos. So I played a jumbo in a few of my videos on Instagram that are just like these gorgeous, bigger, beautiful sounding guitars. This is a dreadnought style, which from what I've been educated on is like the main typical kind people tend to buy. It's like the most popular.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because it's pretty versatile. And then he has parlors, which are like these really cool kind of like, I don't know if you'd say travel size, but like smaller guitars that are really rad. So
That's so cool. That is awesome. Well, I want to hear about your new song. You just released a song called "Better."
yes, I just put a song out called Better, and I'd taken kind of a hiatus while I was pregnant, obviously. And at the end of my pregnancy, I put out a song called Oh Baby, which I wrote for my son.
Mm-hmm.
Like the second I found out I was pregnant, I wrote this song. And then after that, I've kind of been sorting through, I'm getting ready to put together like a full EP. But I wanted to get something out in the meantime. And I picked Better because it felt like so much has changed for me, and so much changes for everyone when you enter into your like parenthood chapter, obviously. And going from this very different lifestyle I had, and when I was living in LA, it was like I was just day to day, like very much so in survival mode. Honestly, very stressed out most of the time. There were some things that happened that like I really had big shifts and like learning experiences from, and heartbreaks and all the things that come with growing up. So Better was sort of this like cathartic like page turner for me to sort of put out, of like my friend group changed, my the way I live my life changed, and there were like definitely some like obstacles that, and like and I guess emotional bruises that came with that, of just learning to grow up, and like but also realizing what that means as far as you know still keeping that part of yourself, but just looking out for your mental health, looking out for your family, being able to surround yourself with the right people that nurture you, and vice versa. And so yeah, it was sort of this song of like this deep breath for me to sort of be like, okay, I'm going to let go of a bunch of this stuff and move into this new space.
I love it. That's so cool. Yeah. Oh my. So you said you were in the midst of recording a record or writing a record, and then or album or EP. And then COVID happened and that kind of changed everything. So currently are you just really, do you have a batch of songs that are done, or are you kind of releasing them as you write them and record them? Like what do you have moving forward?
So I have a batch of songs that are done, and then I have a couple more that I'm going to be adding. I have first passes of all these things kind of record and put down, but I'm literally building out like an in-home studio that I can be very self-sufficient in, and so I'm excited to sort of like re-record this, get it to where I want it, and put all those things into it that I haven't been mobile for as long as I have. Like I said, we've moved 8 times,
Right.
and years. So having a space to really be able to like put the love into a song that I want to, and make it the way that I want it, is going to be awesome. And then being able to use my new guitar on the tracks, and and all of that. So it's written and it's ready to go. It's just as soon as I get this room where it needs to be, I'll be able to get into the lab and get them all ready to go.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Zoe, for doing this today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, this has been great. I have one more quick question. If you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Advice for aspiring artists, lots, but a couple things are, one, like I said, I think that if you want to have art become your, success vehicle, I think that success means a different word to everybody, but to me, it just means that I can, function. I can be able to sustain myself off of doing something that I really love, something that makes me really happy. And if you want that, I think it really just comes down to making as much as you can and getting off your back as far as like, just get it out there, make it, create, and try not to be too hard on yourself because, at the end of the day, especially nowadays, it's just, quantity and consistency. So, and like I said, that one video that you don't even think maybe is that good could be the one that opens a huge door for you. So that's my biggest bit of advice. And then also just listening to your intuition and trusting yourself, whether that be putting yourself around people that genuinely make you feel good and feel, don't stress you out. Like you should feel good on a day-to-day basis, creating the art that you do, and surrounding yourself with people that make you feel safe and good. So those are my two big ones. Bringing it backward.